Hello, and welcome to the Long Island Local Podcast, brought to you by Audio Workstations here in Bohemia, New York. Let's jump right into the conversation with a Long Island local business owner. Welcome, everyone, to the Long Island Local Podcast. Today I have a very special presentation. This is our largest group at the table for Long Island Local Podcast ever. I have 4 people surrounding me, and I'm excited. Today we're going to talk about next generation designs, and as well we're going to talk about on-reserve cleaning. I have 4 gentlemen in front of me. I'm going to move introductions from right to left. I have Brian. Hello, Brian.
Hi, how are you, my man? How are you?
Thank you for being here. To Brian's right and my left, I have Steven.
Hey, how we doing?
How you doing, Steven? Thanks for coming.
Thank you.
All right, and further down the table, we have Franklin. Franklin, welcome.
Thanks for having me.
Welcome, Franklin. And last but not least, to my left, we have Ron. Ron, welcome.
Good afternoon. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year, everyone.
Happy New Year.
So, moving into 2023, we've got some construction consulting that's going to get done, and that's going to be where you guys come in at Next Generation Designs. And then, as I was saying before we started rolling, I imagine that on-reserve cleaning and Next Generation Designs have a bit of a symbiotic relationship. Often when there's construction happening, there's also some cleaning that needs to be happening. Yep. So tell me about these 2 businesses and how you guys came together to create them, and a little bit about how they relate to one another. I know that's a bunch of questions in a row. So I'll bring this first question to you, Brian. How did you guys create Next Generation?
So before Next Generation, Ron and I was working for a prior employer who also, within the same lines, obtained permits, networked with professionals, engineers, architects, and we were basically a permit obtaining firm. And Ron was the draftsman, and I was basically the assistant of my boss. So my boss was, getting the leads, obtaining the jobs, and what I would go do is, I would go site visit, I would fill out the applications, prepare them for the client, and if we needed to get any type of signatures, I would be the person obtaining those signatures, because at the time I was a notary public.
Okay.
So with most applications, you need to get affidavits that need to get notarized. So that's what I was doing. I was running around, the assistant, and Ron was measuring out the properties and getting the plans prepared.
Now, do you have to go to town offices and county offices and places like that to get these permits, or where do you have to go to get them?
So it's 50-50. Many of the municipalities, townships, you can do them online, but if you live in a village, 99% of them are in person only.
Okay. That's interesting because so many things moved online, but the villages are sticking with the old school methodology, it seems. That's not entirely surprising. Okay. So someone says to you guys, we want to do this type of construction. Maybe we want to add something to mostly residential. Is that what we're talking about?
Yeah, we work residential, but we have been going into the commercial end of the industry as well. Basically, the first steps are always obtaining a property search.
Okay.
What a property search tells us is basically the history on the house, right? For example, whatever work has done, any open permits, any violations, any COs, surveys, existing plans, whatever information the municipality knows, we want to know. Because in our business, a lot of times we don't get everything up front from our client because either they don't know or never figured to find out about it. So before we ever file or even get into a house to do work, we always prepare a property search. A property search is also called a FOIL. So you can obtain a FOIL by a municipality online or in person.
How do you spell that?
FOIL.
Is that an acronym?
Freedom of Information Letter.
Ah, thank you.
Yes.
I can sense an acronym a mile away. There's so many acronyms in the world of audio and music that I have a spidey sense for. I'm like, because I know it's not named after aluminum foil. It's got to be something else. Okay, so if I want to make a new extension to my house or something, I'm not sure if it's allowed. I can reach out to you guys, and then you will actually figure out like the history of the property and everything that's happened there. A CO, you mentioned that's a certificate of occupancy. Yes.
Yes, sir,
Okay.
correct.
Cool. All right. I'm checking all my acronym knowledge today.
No.
And then you can come back to me and say, oh, actually, this is all the history of everything that's been done on your property according to the town or the village or whatever, and this is what they're going to allow you to do and what they're not going to allow you to do, and that kind of stuff. Am I
Correct.
getting a good sense of this?
Including zoning, because that is also
Okay.
the biggest part of our business. Because if the zoning laws don't allow us to, let's say, if adding bedroom counts,
Yeah.
then we can't do the work. We can't up to the permit, and that hasn't come across because there's always ways around it.
Okay.
But zoning is a very big part of our property searches.
And does that have to do with like how close you can come to the property line with how big a house gets? Like, do certain villages and towns have like the how big the house can be compared to the property? Is that a concern often?
Yeah, definitely. Ron would have a little bit better explanation.
Please, yeah.
Yeah, so I guess the way Brian and I work is I handle more of the construction or the design build
Okay.
for the plans. So I deal directly with the architects. We pretty much have a relationship with them where whatever project we goes down, it all comes down to as long as it's up to code. So like, in addition, we have a couple projects going on where people are adding to their properties, and you're right, like a lot of it comes down to, how big the lot is, because you need at least 5 feet minimum on one side and 13 feet aggregate, meaning both sides of side yard. Minimally, usually it's about 25 feet in the backyard. So as long as we meet those requirements, we can max out the property. And on top of that, we got to count, how much pervious subsurface you have,
Okay.
and impervious. Pervious meaning that, water could seep through like grass, impervious like cement. So usually it's about 45% of pervious land that you need to maintain. You can go ahead and convert your whole lot into like brick and concrete,
Right.
but you just need to go for a variance. Like we do it, we work with it. It's just that's how whatever project we go, we let the homeowners know this is what you can do, this is what you can't do, and this is what we can provide for you.
Right. And I guess being on Long Island, we're always worried about flooding stuff, right? That's like specifically our problem here. Now, when people come to you with ideas or designs or both, and like at what stage do you step in and help them? You're saying help with the design stuff and
Yeah.
work with architects. Do people often come to you with just like a general notion of what they want to do, and then you have to help them fill in all those details?
Everyone knows, at least with our clients, everyone knows what they want to live in and how they want to use their space the best they can. What we do is we provide them just knowledge of how spaces work and collide with each other, right? Like you don't want to have a bathroom next to your kitchen necessarily. You want to try and space those out properly. There's a rule of thumb in the kitchen where you want to have your stove, your sink, and your refrigerator relatively close to each other. So you don't want to walk too much to prepare food.
Sure.
And then on top of that, like some people or a lot of people, they want things to look nice. And for things to look nice, we need to meet certain requirements, spacing. A lot of people like cantilevers. And it's all about just meeting requirements. A lot of people like what's huge now is open spaces. People
Sure.
like to have their their dining room and living room just see through. So
Now, is that just so you can watch TV while you're cooking?
exactly?
Is that the whole idea behind that?
Pretty much, you just like the spaces. And listen, we can do it. It's just you need to know that it's gonna cost more construction because now
Right.
we need to use stronger materials. It all
Right.
comes down to
Because you have less support.
exactly.
surface
We don't want
area?
things collapsing.
Okay. Certainly
So
not. Yeah.
it's really just about any project you like. You just need to know the logistics behind it that goes down. Because we can do it, but then the engineering to it, like
Yeah.
it can't fall down. Like
Sure. Yeah, that
cannot
seems
fall
like
down.
priority number one.
Yes.
Yes. Okay, that makes sense. And do you work directly with like the design software where you see like the virtual space in the program? I got exposed to that recently because my stepfather started getting into that. He designed a renovation on his house in Tennessee. He moved down there and they started renovating this house they bought. And he got real close with the person he was using to help design it, and then took such an interest that he's now designing stuff on the side for that
Yeah.
same guy, and he's It's because he's basically a control freak. He had to basically learn the whole program, and then he was like, oh, maybe I want to do this for other people. So I've seen a lot of stuff go on in those pieces of software. It's very cool how much you can see in a not a full 3-dimensional like a virtual headset, although I'm sure that's coming when you can like put on an Oculus and walk through the space.
It exists.
It
We can
does.
provide
Okay,
that, yeah,
that's
100%.
awesome.
We do that kind of stuff.
Wow.
So with the industry of architecture,
Mhm.
or the construction industry, architecture industry, it's always been a pen and paper kind of thing.
Yeah.
And architects now the older architects, they're having trouble moving on to that
Yeah.
newer technology, where now we're working with people that all they do is just come with a camera, and the camera pretty much draws everything. So
Mhm.
a lot of the time it's being taken away from our hands. So
In terms of taking an existing space and modifying
it just puts it into the program and it calculates everything itself. So we don't even have to go draw anymore.
That's nice.
So what we do is we provide the plan. Yeah, we can draw up the plans, and then with the architect we send them what we do, and they give us their feedback. Hey, I need some structure here, or this space needs to be relocated like this. They give us what they know and is gonna from their experience, and we just relay that to the homeowner.
Gotcha.
We cut that time between the homeowner talking to the architect, because the homeowner is not gonna know.
They don't speak the
They don't
architect
speak the language,
yeah.
and architects they hate when people say, "Oh, that thingy," or
Sure.
that thing. I want that space to look like this, and
Yeah.
it's just like
No,
So
I can relate even as an audio engineer. It's like sometimes people will ask me audio questions, but with such general terms that I can't even really answer the question properly, and I just become frustrated. Sound like a dick. So yeah, no, that it helps to have that communication. Yeah, and so do people generally need to utilize the cleaning beforehand or afterwards, or both?
So pretty much it's both. Before, if there's asbestos or whatnot, that Brian could explain that a little bit more. There's special companies that specialize in like asbestos, because that's a whole different you
Sure.
can get cancer if you don't actually take care of
Right,
that
like a
job
normal
properly.
clean versus like a biohazard clean.
Exactly.
Okay, so you're on the normal clean side.
Yeah, well, not even on that. I'm more on the commercial but sophisticated. Like
Okay.
we're gonna go do the job for you, but we're not gonna tell everyone that we do the job for you. So
Okay.
I'll not only do construction, I mostly specialize in production, like for CBS, NBC, Universal.
Oh,
And what
cool.
we do is, so for example, if they're using the stages, the offices also have to be cleaned and sanitized. So
Mhm.
we go and we make sure everything is wiped down, picked up, and thrown out, basically.
Got you. So you're actually doing a bunch of cleaning for like professional broadcast industry stuff. That's
Yeah.
cool.
So one of our prior clients was actually, because since the season finished, it was Bull. Season 6, we worked for them directly. Franklin here actually helped me start my company with Brian as well. So it was just a long haul.
Nice. Yeah, that's very cool. So I didn't expect that overlap between the entertainment world. I like that surprise because
Yeah.
that's like a little bit of what we do here. Obviously, this is a sort of a broadcast. This is sort of like the new world of broadcast. And even the software we're using today is called Open Broadcast Software. And we were talking about before we started rolling today how it's an open source software, which is a change for us because we're used to, paying a monthly fee to a
For
company,
everything,
and
yeah.
then when it doesn't work, we know who to blame, and we can call them
Exactly.
and complain. But okay, cool. So tell me more about how we get from, just an idea to the finished product. About how long is this process from, I think I want to do something to, let's say add on to a house, to the thing is done and, completed?
So let's say it all depends on our client's design,
Mhm.
right? So it varies between person to person because sometimes our client can be a homeowner, meaning that could be their primary residence. So they want it a certain way. Or it can be an investment property. So, for example, we work with also real estate agents, realtors, and real estate lawyers. So either we would have to prepare something for closing, meaning maybe they ran title and something came up, right? In title search that there's maybe an open permit or a violation and something and they can't close. We would come in, and if it's a maintain, if it's something simple, we would just legalize what's there. Or if it's something that needs, extensive work, then we propose it. But if it's for a primary, well, they're going to want a specific design, and that's where the time differs. But normally, let's say an average FOIL request takes about 7 to 14 business days to get through. So from the point that we get in touch and we decide to go into contract, that'd be about 2 weeks there. And within those 2 weeks, we measure, right? So we're measuring the property, every corner, and then from there, we're preparing the documents, preparing the preliminary plans. That usually takes about 2 to 4 weeks, depending on details, right? So let's say it's, you want a certain way, and the software needs to create it. We have to create a certain way, and we have to make sure you like it, right? Make sure you like it, but it also coordinates with the code.
Mm-hmm.
So that's where, that's the time that comes into that. So usually it takes about 2 to 4 weeks to obtain preliminary plans. Once you approve them and there's no issues, then we forward them over to our architect. All right, listen, they're done. They're approved by the homeowner. Let's finish up the rest of the plans and sign and seal them. Once we sign and seal them, we can take them to the building department. Most of the time, the building departments, we are registered expediters in certain building departments, but not in all of them because they don't allow registering as expediters because it's just how they go with the system. And sometimes they're backed up months. There's a couple building municipalities out here in Suffolk County that they won't look at my work for at least 2 months, and I submitted it maybe a month ago.
Wow.
Right? In DOB, in NYC, I have a project in the Bronx that they probably won't look for at least 2-3 months. They're working on November, October time. So it all varies between the municipality and
we haven't even gotten to getting a hammer out yet.
No,
We're just
we haven't even
talking-
gotten a permit yet.
Yeah, we're just talking about getting everything approved
yeah.
and ready to be
All
done.
the proper documents.
Yeah.
And that's where we come in because, as well, the property owner doesn't know what type of documents they need because sometimes
Yeah.
we need to order a survey. And, that's a homeowner usually, if you're a fresh homeowner, sometimes they give you a survey once you close.
Mm-hmm.
But some people don't even know that. Some people buy a house and don't even get the proper documents. They just get the contract signing and they're in there and they're like, all right, we're set and clear. But sometimes things come across where they don't know that they have to obtain permits or they have something illegal that they weren't even aware of until usually the municipalities get alerted once the ownership is changed.
Mm-hmm.
That's when they're like, all right, let's go check out the property. We haven't seen anything in a while from them and they just closed and there's a new owner in there. Sometimes they come in and issue violations, all the time, improper, there's a fence
Mm-hmm.
or, this second story addition. I don't know when this happened, this, we don't know about this or whatever the case may be.
And that would be stuff that you would hope would be caught by a home inspection during the transaction,
hope.
right? You would hope, yeah.
Title agencies,
Right.
real estate lawyers, you pay them all this money. What happens?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Sometimes things get missed.
Some things get missed, and that's where we come in. And that's 95% of our business, where we're coming in once everything is either done and it's someone else's problem, and they weren't even aware of it was a problem, or it's causing them to stop the closing, right? They can't move forward with the closing. So we come in with, for example, working a job in the city. They had to create an escrow account because the client wants to leave, the buyer wants to come in, but there's open violations publicly. So that's where we educated our client. We're like, listen, try to negotiate something with your real estate lawyer. Try to set something up where you can separate construction costs and leave your house and still have an account so we can still do our work with milestones on it.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, the escrow account is usually controlled by the buyer or the seller's attorney. So that's how we were going to move with that. And little things like that, we're educating our clients because that's our main mission. We want to be the bridge to the gap of information between municipalities, contractors, architects, because like my partner said, a lot of people don't know that terminology and don't know the process and just think it's 1, 2, 3,
Yeah, yeah. And there's always more details in anything that has to do with, specifically anything that's a bureaucracy.
Correct. No, totally.
And we have a lot of those in towns and villages and states and, so anything that involves permits is going to be sort of caught in that world of the average person isn't aware of all the paperwork that needs to be filled out and is probably going to be overwhelmed and surprised by it last minute if nobody properly communicated it to them.
Correct.
Okay, cool. So like I said, this is the first time with 4 people in the podcast at once. So why don't you give me some background on how you guys actually met and then started working together? Anyone who wants to jump in.
Yeah. So, I'm sorry. Brian and Steven, we all went to University of Hartford at one point.
Okay.
Steven and I are in the same
Architecture
our
program.
architecture program. We got
Cool.
to know each other, just to being in the same studio. And then I ended up transferring back to Long Island in 2017, and always kept a good relationship with Steven because it was we always just hung out and sometimes just a lot of with architecture we were up late at night, so it builds bonds.
Just cool friends.
So through that, through knowing Steven, I was able to get connected with Brian, right? And then that's how we got with our previous employer. We started, we got together with him, and we pretty much just always been in contact with each other. And then Brian and I, we realized that him and I, we both have a lot of strongs and weaknesses that if we put them together,
Sure.
it balances each other out,
Mhm.
right?
That's
Brian
important.
is a very more of the social person, the more of the young, talkative,
Outgoing.
person,
Mhm.
and I'm more of I talk with the architects. We
Yeah.
do run numbers, so we like to talk about structure. So that's how we got together, and we realized that him and I, we do the business ourselves, so why not try it ourselves? And then with Steven, he's always been the motivator because he's the one that's had his business the longest time.
Mm.
So with him, it's really just big motivation to try and keep up with him and try and get going or see how our businesses can match up together, right? Because we're all friends, we've all been friends, but now let's do some business together. Why not, right?
Mm-hmm.
What's stopping us? It's our time now.
Awesome. And Franklin, I got to hear from you. How did you get involved?
So I met Steven through a friend at work, and he let me into his company, and it's just been a good company. He's very good at what he does. He has a good structure for the cleaning thing. He taught me how to clean. I never knew. That was a nice skill.
Excellent. Yeah.
And prior to COVID,
Yeah.
that's good.
It's extra needed now. Everyone's hyper aware of what makes a good clean.
People don't realize that a lot of us don't understand that what really cleaning is all about. You should be in a clean space if you want to feel clean. You want to feel right. I love how you have that sea salt in here because that means you're a clean freak.
Yeah, we're fans of the sea salt lamps. They kind of started as a way to get a nice soft light in the studio that didn't involve an open flame because candles in the studio is kind of like a nice cliche, but it's also a nice fire hazard. So
Not up to code.
So to us, the salt lamps were like, okay, it's a warm, glowing light that we can have. It creates a sort of vibe an atmosphere in a music session and ambiance, and it's we're not as concerned about burning the place down. So and yes, I've heard that there's the ions that come off the salt lamp a little bit when it's heated.
When it's supposed to regenerate your own energy, and I believe in all that. So
Cool.
For me, cleaning, it's also I take cleaning seriously because it's not just you're cleaning someone's space. You want to remove all that negative energy from there and just clean it out, especially. That's why they say open the windows. There's more to that than just opening the windows. You recycle the air inside the space, but there's a methodology saying that if you open the windows, you let all the bad energy just go out through the windows.
Mm-hmm.
And that's stuff I want to incorporate, but at the same time, just clean.
Yeah, listen. When you have the ability to get fresh air in, it's
That's fresh.
it's a no-brainer. Whether it's just allowing the air to recycle, or whether it's you just use some chemicals during cleaning and you want to air it out.
Exactly.
And I was going to ask you, what are some of the go-to? You don't have to give away any industry secrets, but
That's okay.
what are some of the go-to compounds, chemicals, solutions that help you give a good clean?
So basically, what I really like to use is isopropyl alcohol.
I do too.
It's 99% gonna kill most of it.
Yeah.
If not, use Clorox, but that Clorox smell, that bleach smell is too harsh.
Yeah, and I was gonna say as long as you're from isopropyl alcohol, the distance that you need to be away from it to not feel like you're inhaling the fumes is very small.
Compared
Whereas
to-
bleach type of a smell feels like it really permeates the air, and you
Oh,
can't get
yeah.
like when I clean the bathroom with bleach, I worry.
No, and you're right. That's why when we, as an employer especially, we try not to like have the harshest chemicals. So we try to go all natural, organic as well. So for the clocks, we'll do like the natural clocks, not the harsh like organic, like the one we all know that blue labeled clocks is the worst one we could use. But
Okay.
there's like a smoother one that they also sell at Home Depot. That you could just buy it for your regular bathroom if you think that one hurts you. Cool. Some people think that Fabuloso also like, oh, it gives me a headache, it gives me nausea.
Right.
Like, it's just the placebo effect we call it because realistically, like, some if it does like, it could affect you, but at the same time, like, not affect someone else, and then give them like, oh, it makes me feel so much better. Like,
Sure, yeah.
So it's all up to you, you know.
Yeah,
So,
yeah. I tend to use like isopropyl alcohol to clean in my apartment because it's I don't know, it's just handy.
Yeah.
It's like, and it evaporates very quickly.
Exactly.
Which I think is key.
It gets the job done.
Yeah, yeah. You don't drink it, you just spray it. It's then it's safe. All right, awesome. So what's an example of like a time when you guys would be working with the two companies together on the same project? How does the handoff and the interplay work out?
So let's say, for example, there's an existing space, and let's say you're renewing a certification and you need to, for example, a commercial location, you need to have proper sprinkler system. You need to have proper light and vent calculation. You need to have proper windows. So how we would coordinate is, for example, if we need to legalize that property or to ensure Department of Buildings or any building department that this place is up to code, everything matches, we do the paperwork, and then for a presentation reason, let's say our client is going to, once we get our certificate of occupancy or a temporary certificate of occupancy, then we tell Steven, Steven, there's our client, like this is going to be an office space, and they're going to be coming in here soon. Once we get the CO, they're going to be occupying the space. Let's try to get you in there, sanitize it, get a contract, get a client, or even an account. That's the main thing that, what we try to develop is we don't just need one client and then we're done. We want to create a relationship.
Of course.
That's the whole point of why we all work together, because, 4 minds are better than one, and it just makes our clients feel more comfortable that the information that they're receiving is relayed on by multiple sources. And each person that are involved has knowledge in different points of where they're interested or what they're trying to accomplish. So it mainly goes down to, once we have like a property or any residential commercial, we bring Steven along. Listen, this is my partner. He offers cleaning services. If you're looking to know his services, here's his contact information. And then, that's how we get the ball rolling with that part.
Gotcha. That sounds like good
I can
synergy.
give you
Yeah.
a quick scenario if you like.
Please.
So basically, we have some tools and techniques. Like I have a drone too that we use for like seeing where we can't actually reach spaces. So if like there's dust above like the red line, you see how in some buildings there's the fire water line, the sprinkler systems and all that. Sometimes you got to get that clean, or else the buildup of dust is going to affect that too. So we use those types of technology to see like everything around, and that's what we're trying to incorporate in the permitting aspect as well. So from start to finish, what it would look like is we'd go to a job like Brian is saying. He'd introduce me, be like, hey, what's up? So this is Steven. This is my partner. We're here to see exactly what needs to be done. He does his thing. I just look around. I see what I can offer. And then after he does that, he offers the client, hey, listen, so we understand you have your certificate of occupancy. We understand you're going to be using the space. If you'd like, there's one, the cleaning company, Steven, he could offer you a one-time offer, and then that's where we get ourselves in. Or at the end of the job, if they're ready, like, oh, Steven, like, this job is ready, like, it just needs to get wrapped up, like, in the present and give it in. That's it, so.
Gotcha. That makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
Awesome. All right. Well, I've certainly learned a lot about both companies, and I've been a little overwhelmed by which way to look during this conversation, but I tried to figure it out on the fly. I hope you forgive me if I didn't get eye contact in with each of you. So I learned a lot about both next-gen design and on-reserve cleaning. I feel like I get how they work together. And it was everyone from the same college originally, or was it no?
No,
Okay,
he's just from.
okay, gotcha. But shout out to Hartford,
University
right?
of Hartford. Go Hawks, baby.
Go Hawks.
Making business connections in college. I like to hear it.
Barbados State. Go Rams.
All right. Well, I want to thank everyone for listening, and we will have contact information for both companies in the description, and we'll see a little ad for you guys afterwards for those who are interested. I want to thank each of you for coming down today, and any other things that we may have forgotten to mention that you want to throw in there?
The only thing you mentioned something about when we were talking about the salt lamp, about ventilation and
Yeah.
everything, and everyone in Long Island likes to have a nice finished basement. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Everyone doesn't want to have an unfinished basement that is unused. So everyone a lot of it, people go ahead and finish it, do it themselves. That's fine. You're the homeowner. You can do whatever you want with your house. However, when you have a finished basement, like you said, the air is going to get stuck there. It's going to feel claustrophobic. So there's certain requirements that we just need to meet. And one of them is light and vent. So there's a minimum of 8% light of the total square foot and 4% of the total, or ventilation of the total square feet. And a lot of people, basement lights, they're only 2x1, 2x16 maybe. And a lot of it requires, bigger windows. And people are always they don't want to do it right away, but long term it's nice to have a big window. Basements, if you want to have a finished basement, the biggest thing is you want egress. Two means of egress, one from inside to out to upstairs and one from the basement to outside.
Mm-hmm.
Now usually that's a window or a door with
Mhm.
stairs walkout, and that just allows kind of the ventilation, and it gives you the peace of mind that if anything happens while you're in that finished basement, because you're going to be lounging, you're going to be chilling, you're going to be vibing, you can get out that house safely.
Mm-hmm.
Fires happen, accidents happen because those requirements weren't met. Firemen weren't able to get to the basement because there was no access to it. The
Yeah.
windows were too small, and that's tragic to hear.
Sure.
The basement went up in flame because the door didn't close by itself. Tragic. The door should have closed by itself. It's a self-closing metal door up to code. If you have a finished basement, that's the biggest thing. And really, that's what we try and what Brian and I do when we talk to people is just get them that information, whether they want to do business with us or not, but at least they know and they're aware
Yeah.
of it, and it just gives us that peace of mind.
Well, that makes sense. And I'm sure the water issue on Long Island is also, I think, for basements, trying to make sure that they are waterproof and water sealed and all that.
Of course.
Flooding of basements is another nightmare that people don't.
That's
wanna
usually only
experience.
between if you're in the shore area.
Yes.
So it's a lot of it to do with the water table. Middle of Long Island, Wantagh, Hempstead, Brentwood. Those areas don't usually deal with it unless you're
Mhm.
by the pond. But when you do have water in it, you do want to make sure that it's all. You don't want to. You want to make sure it's fixed up right away because water is
It's
A
mold.
B. It finds its way and it's gonna crack and it's gonna do if it's not secured. So yeah,
Not only that, it's gonna create mold. It's gonna make it worse.
Yep.
for your
Exactly.
Yeah.
yeah.
That's
atmosphere.
that's the tricky part.
The
of,
biggest thing is you want to fix things. You want to do if you're gonna do something, you want to do it once and not do it twice because it's gonna cost you
Mhm.
twice the price.
Yep.
And that's what we want to do.
All right, makes sense. People, finish your basements the right way. Call Next Gen and On Reserve, and they will steer you in the right direction. And and then you can rehearse your band or set up your home theater without worrying.
Exactly.
Vibe.
Exactly.
Or have
Oh, yeah.
maintenance cleaning.
Consumable properly.
All right, awesome. Thank you again.
Thank you.
Everyone at this table, Brian, Steven, Franklin, and Ron, I appreciate you guys
Thank
coming
you.
down and sharing info about your businesses with us.
Thank you.
And, we appreciate you guys for listening as well, those of you out there, and we will see you on our next episode. We'll wave to the cameras on this one. Bye.
Peace. Bye.
Take care.
Hi, my name is Brian Ladino, co-founder of Next Gen Designs, a construction consulting firm. We specialize in obtaining building permits, drafting services, and any architectural or engineering services at your residence or commercial property. You can reach us at 516-942-4223 or at our Instagram at Next Gen Permit King. Thank you very much and look forward to your questions.
My name is Steven Ramirez. with On Reserve Cleaning Services. We do commercial cleaning for production companies. We are working throughout the tri-state area. We service mostly in Brooklyn and Long Island City. We like to disinfect, sanitize, and remediate. Disinfect touch points and 6 feet below the touch points as well. You can contact us at services.onreserve@gmail.com. 347-456-6349.